Weeks now we have been following the Gospel of Mark, considered of our four Gospels to perhaps be the oldest of the four. And it's unique in many ways. But one of my favorite qualities about the Gospel of Mark is how it ends. The church was not satisfied in the early centuries with the apparent simplicity and drama of the ending of the Gospel of Mark. So it was seen to have a new ending, an ending that made it more like the other Gospels. But this morning I would like to share the closing of chapter 16 of the Gospel according to Mark in what is thought to be its oldest and most original ending, because it invites us into a great question. When the Sabbath was over, Mary Magdalene and Mary, the mother of James, and Salome brought spices so that they might go and anoint him. And very early on the first day of the week, when the sun had risen, they went to the tomb. They had been saying to one another, "Who will roll away the stone for us from the entrance to the tomb so that we may enter?" When they looked up, they saw that the stone, which was very large, had already been rolled away. As they entered the tomb, they saw a young man, dressed in a white robe, sitting on the right side, and they were alarmed, not knowing who he might be. But he said to them, "Do not be alarmed. You are looking for Jesus of Nazareth, who was crucified. He has been raised. He is not here. Look, there is the place they laid him. But go, tell his disciples and Peter that he is going ahead of you to Galilee. There you will see him just as he told you." So they went out and fled from the tomb, for terror and amazement had seized them. And they said nothing to anyone, for they were afraid. Now, if you were a writer of the gospel, which of course means the good news, would you have ended your book with that line, "They fled, for they were afraid"? It kind of leaves it a little bit open-ended. But perhaps the author of this gospel wanted us to dwell upon the marvel of the tomb that had held the body just shortly before of Jesus of Nazareth was now empty. The grave clothes were folded and upon the stone within the tomb. What could this mean? Well, it is for us to ponder this reality of the empty tomb. Charles Fillmore, our co-founder of Unity, along with his wife, Myrtle Fillmore, wrote these words as one of his many descriptions of the Easter tradition within Christianity. Easter is the celebration of the resurrection of Jesus. Its inner meaning and spiritual significance is the awakening and rising to spiritual consciousness of the I am, the spiritual truth of the human being, which has been dead in trespass or error and buried in a tomb of materiality. Christ and Jesus declared, "I came that they may have life and may have it abundantly." The resurrection is a raising up of the whole human being, spirit, soul, body, into the Christ consciousness of life and wholeness. This Jesus did. The tomb could not hold his redeemed, perfected body. Resurrection is accomplished by the quickening power of the Holy Spirit. Every time we rise to the realization of eternal indwelling life, making union with the Father mind, with God, the resurrection of Jesus takes place within us. All thoughts of limitation and inevitable obedience to material law are left in the tomb. Jesus was born into the human race, thought, so that he might reconstruct it in conformity with divine law. He thus became our way-shower, our Savior, our helper. Today, the light of truth is illuminating my mind, and I rise up in the majesty of my divine sonship and proclaim myself to be the child of the Most High, free from all belief in sin, sickness, and death as permanent realities. In unity with Christ, I realize that I am resurrected into the life, light, and power of God. Those words, written many decades ago by Charles Fillmore, and now contained in a book by the title of Keep a True Lent, sums up his understanding of the meaning of the resurrection. And you may have noticed his emphasis, even in the affirmation that we spoke earlier, which was actually written by Cora Fillmore. Jesus Christ is here now, raising us to his consciousness of everlasting life. That unity has done its part through many decades to help people focus upon the immediacy, the presence of the resurrection here, now, in our lives. Now, Charles said this is not to in any way deny the magnificence of what Charles and Myrtle Fillmore called the Great Demonstration. And that was the raising of Jesus of Nazareth from the tomb. But it is important, they believe, to follow the teachings of Jesus through his years of ministry on earth, calling people constantly to be present, to be aware of their God's presence as their very life. That paying attention to our life here now is our conscious uplifting, our resurrection, our renewal. We can turn to the Holy Scriptures. We can turn to the mystery that is almost more than we can grasp in the raising of Jesus of Nazareth 2,000 years ago. But we can't do any of this at the expense of throwing away what we might call the stupendous invitation to life. Charles Fillmore continued in a book of another title, Jesus Christ Heals, of 1939. Salvation through Jesus Christ is not accomplished by looking forward to freedom, but by realizing that we are now free through His freeing power, which we're using to cut the bonds which our thoughts have bound us. Then we only have to establish ourselves in real life and strength by understanding that these attributes of being are ever present, and that our affirmations of that presence will cause us to become conscious, aware, that we do now and here live and move and have our being in God's eternal life and strength. What greater, what more stupendous invitation could there be than to be fully present and aware of the life within you? That you are a living soul and child of God. Surely, this was the essential teaching of Jesus of Nazareth, to attempt to awaken those that would listen to Him, to be aware, grateful, and make use of this power of life within you. In the days of Jesus, faith in that power of life healed many people, according to the Scriptures. And Jesus was constantly remarking to the individual, your faith has healed you. Your faith has made you whole. So today we are invited to enter more deeply into a trust, an acceptance, a wonder in this life within us and its power, its goodness. For it is God's presence within His creation. Today is part of our Easter ceremony, and I am most pleased to note that this is my second Easter celebration here at Unity at the Lake. I had the privilege last April, while Reverend Dale was on sabbatical, to be the minister of the month. And of course, I shrewdly chose the month of April from what she offered me because it included Easter, the big day. And we had a similar flower service then, but if you know me, there's always a twist and turn every year in how I present it. So I invite us to turn our attention. In any ceremony, in any tradition, there is always an intention. There is always a purpose. Ceremony gives us an opportunity to create a warmth of feeling, or we may call it devotion. And not only a statement of words, which we call an affirmation in Unity, but today we will also create through our meditation an inner vision. And that is the real gift, that vision in our imagination, that I hope you will take from this service and continue to work with it in your time of prayer and meditation, your time of silence, because it is a very powerful invitation to life. Many of us know, even to this day, and through the centuries, the custom of bringing flowers to the place of a grave as an act of honor respect for the deceased. And you may have noticed in watching our endless media these days that does give us a gift of taking us to scenes or events around the world almost the moment they happen. It's really amazing. Something cannot happen in the world without us knowing about it in a few minutes. Something to think about. But very often in our world now, when a celebrity dies, people will come to their home or some memorial place that will be set up in their city and will bring flowers. And what are they really doing? Yes, many are grieving, many are mourning, but they are bringing something in a devotional way in the hope that the qualities of that individual's character will live on. It's not come to an end. It will live on. And so today in our flower ceremony, we will have the opportunity, after we've intensified in our meditation this inner image, we will have an opportunity to approach this artistic rendering of the tomb and bring our flowers to it in a way that acknowledges for us that life always trumps death. That our flower symbols representing the everlasting life within us as God's creation will always triumph over the obstacles, the endings, the difficult challenges that we face in life. They will never be our end. We may have times that are not easy. We may have sickness from which we must heal. We may experience lack that we must find a new fulfillment. But it will never be our end. So I invite the ushers to pass out the flowers as the basket comes by you. Select a flower of your choice, unless somebody grabs your favorite color right before it gets to you, in which case I just ask you, be of good will. Well, thank you. My mother taught me, nothing can be better than a yellow flower. Yellow sunshine. And some Easter she used to scare people with the brilliance of her yellow outfits. So we'll just allow a few moments for everyone to have a flower in their hand. It's a good idea. Stick it. Begin to appreciate the attributes of smell, color, form. Dale, let's leave both baskets up here. The children might want to help us in the end. So take a few moments with this beautiful symbol of nature's life in your hand. And just again observe its form, its color, its smell. I think flowers used to have more smell. Even its leaves, some of you will have some leaves, others will have to use imagination if your stem does not actually contain the leaves. And we all know that this is a cut flower. It's been cut from the entirety of the plant, which would have rooted it into the ground. And I invite you to close your eyes, and through this wonderful power of inner seeing, or what we may call imagination within us, you can invite that flower back into your mind's eye and say, well, hello again. This is the first step in our imagination to realize that we can behold things in the outer world, and then we can take them within. And we can inwardly see them. And in that new gentle relationship, if we ask questions, this flower, this any object of life, will reveal to us truths about our own being. Our flower might say to us, consider my roots. You, also a human being, have roots. Your body is made up of material substance from this very earth. You have roots that you may call your bloodline, your heritage, your family tree. It places you in a time and a history and a family and a community and a world. And you draw a part of your human beingness from your roots in this God-created world. The plant can say, consider also my stem, my leaves, my foliage. It is like your soul, your inner life. The plant says, my leaves draw light. warmth from the outer world, and I take it within, and it becomes for me the sap of life. You as a human being have leaves. It is your soul, your senses, that draw from the outer world sights, sounds, feeling experiences, sense of smell. But you also draw ideas, images, even opinions and beliefs from your outer world, and you take them within, and from them you create that which may bless you or harm you, that which may be constructive or destructive to your well-being, to your peace of mind, even to your body. But the flower says, look at my glory. Look at my blossom. It is what people most admire. It is how they recognize my uniqueness. Human being, the flower says, this is like your I am, the crown of life within you. Some call it the indwelling Christ, the perfect pattern of being is established by God. And within that crown, just like within the flower's blossom, there is a seed of ongoing life. Now I invite you to call into your mind's eye something like the tomb that we've created here in the front of the sanctuary. You may see it inwardly differently. But it is an image from your life experience that may have seemed like the end of a road. Perhaps the loss of a relationship, a career, a place that you had always called home. Perhaps it was a great dream that you cherished that has seemed to have come to an hopeless end. Facing that image honestly, you now place that flower, that symbol of the full truth of your being, your body, your soul, your crowning spirit, and you lay that before this tomb, this tremendous mountain blocking your way. And here is an image you have created in your soul with your imaginative and creative powers. And it is something that you can continue to work with long after this service is over. That God has given you the power, and it is continually raised up and resurrected. The great demonstration in Jesus of Nazareth, who was lifted from a tomb of death into a new reality by the power of God's Christ. Jesus taught all who would listen in his days upon the earth that we too had this power, for it was God's gift. He declared, "What I have done, you will do also." And the Christ in him declared, "All who believe and call upon my name shall know everlasting life." That we have an overcoming power. And when you need to build this faith strongly in your heart and mind to meet the challenges of your ongoing life, return to this image, laying the flower at the tomb. And even when you go to the grave of a friend in a cemetery, call this image to mind as you lay the flowers at the grave. Yes, it can be an act of honor and respect, but it is also an act that recognizes the ongoing life of the one who the world says is buried there. You may raise up your faith, your consciousness, and know that although a body may be buried there, a life lives on. So gently I invite you to gradually open your eyes and become aware of this sanctuary where we are seated among friends. And we'll start with the back rows and just casually come forward down the center